Bienvenidos and welcome back to Puro Pinche Gol, the place we discuss all things USMNT y la selección mexicana. My name is Adrian. I'm joined once again by my co-host and Tocayo, Adrian. Adrian, what's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing, dude. Just doing, getting ready to move. It's been a stressful day packing stuff, but glad to be here, taking a break from my real life and join you back.
Yeah, man. I do not envy your position. Man, moving is the worst for sure. But I'm glad
It
you
is.
finally got that taken care of. Well, man, in this episode, we're going to be covering a new development for La Selección Mexicana. It appears that Diego Cocca, the head coach, has made contact with an old eltri legend from the old regime, someone who's still playing, the top scorer for eltri, Chicharito Hernandez. It looks like he's opening the door back for him for an opportunity for him to come back to La Selección. So we'll definitely kind of get your thoughts on that and see if there's even a realistic chance for that to come to fruition. We're also going to be kind of discussing Anthony Hudson, the USMNT head coach. He's recently made some comments where it puts his commitment in doubt in regards to the USMNT. So we'll kind of be reviewing those comments and kind of just kind of analyzing, a couple of comments he's made here in the recent weeks, about that and about an important potential player for the U.S. Adrian, before we kind of get into it, man, where can our listeners find us, brother?
For sure, man. If they want to see our pretty faces, they can find us on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on the notifications. If you're okay just listening our pretty and delightful voices, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast on.
Cool, man. Let's get right into it. The first topic we kind of want to cover Javier Hernandez, Chicharito, Mexico's top ever goal scorer, 52 goals and 109 caps, .48 average since 2009. He's played in some of the biggest clubs in the world. He's played Real Madrid, Manchester United, West Ham, Sevilla, Bayer Leverkusen, Chivas, and he's currently playing with LA
Mm-hmm.
Galaxy. So he's kind of, had a pretty good club career. Bounced around a lot, but
Yeah.
had a decent career in club. He's a veteran of three FIFA World Cups, 2010, 2014, 2018. And, he hasn't really played. 2023 hasn't been his year. So, Adrian,
Uh-huh.
looking overall, not considering 2023 or, this news that Diego Cocca might bring him in, how do you rate Chicharito's performances for a three? Do you think he's obviously the top scorer? Were a lot of those, coincidental goals, tap in goals? Does he deserve to be the top scorer, or was he one of the best products that Mexico has produced recently? What do you think of Chicharito?
Look, man, I think you know that I'm not a fan of Chicharito, like whatsoever. I really think I don't think he's a bad player. I think he's a good player. He is arguably the last Class A player that Mexico has produced. The fact that he played at Manchester United, Real Madrid, coming from the bench, almost never a starter. Um, but he had a decent career at Leverkusen, decent stint at West Ham, and disastrous stint in Sevilla. Uh, I personally think that I think he's well ranked, right? I think he's one of those players that attracts a lot of criticism because I think people tend to overhype him. People say he's a crack. I really don't think he's a crack. I think he's just again one of the last best players that Mexico has produced. But I don't really think he's at the Rafa Marquez level, Hugo Sanchez level. Um, Hell, he's not even at I don't know. I don't think he's even at the level of maybe what would be a good comparison in the USMNT. I don't think he's better than Clint Dempsey, just to put it out there. But that's just technically speaking, right? As a player on the field, I think he deserves to be the top scorer. I think he deserves to be called perhaps and arguably again the best striker in Mexico history, not only because of his numbers, but the impact and the length of his career points him to be maybe the best striker that Mexico has ever had in terms of the national of la selección mexicana, right? Because he is definitely not better than Hugo Sanchez in a lot of ways. So people argue that today's football is more complex and difficult and competitive than 30 years ago football. but I just don't think that Chicharito, if we look at it club wise, can be considered the best Mexican striker in all history for la selección mexicana. Definitely, he can probably take that spot.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up Hugo Sanchez. Compare Hugo Sanchez's length to Chicharito. It's no comparison, right? Chicharito's played since
Mm-hmm.
2009 with La Selección, probably played 12, 13 good years with La Selección. Hugo Sanchez, I think, gave like 5 years. But,
Mm-hmm.
I think he has like 59 caps. Like Chicharito has like double his caps. And Hugo, but, obviously he's a legend of Real Madrid. Um, yeah, I mean, definitely, I think he deserves to be number one in terms of goals scored and Mexico's best in definitely in the conversation, right, of the best four that Mexico has
I mean,
produced.
do you think that Chicharito is better than Jared Borghetti, for example? I mean, Jared Borghetti also played in the Premier League. He's probably, I think he's maybe the first Mexican to play in the Premier League, albeit his stint at Bolton Wanderers wasn't that long. Um, but Jared Borghetti is, definitely top three of the best strikers in Mexico, for
I
sure.
think Jared Borghetti was technically better, but Chicharito
Hmm.
was more of a he knew where to be, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. That
he
was
he
that's
would
his thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was really instinctive. Jared Borghetti scored
Hmm.
some golazos, and he was great with his head. But Chicharito, man, he was just everywhere. I remember watching all the Manchester United Chelsea games. He would always score, for some reason he would always score against Chelsea. He would be everywhere. But I don't know, man. Definitely, I think he deserves to be up there with Jared Borghetti, Hugo Sanchez, and Chicharito. Um, but anyway, man, let's get kind of right into the main thing here.
Hmm.
You know, Chicharito's made contact, or Diego Cocca made contact with Chicharito. To those of us, or to the listeners that don't know, why was Chicharito quote unquote blacklisted under Tata Martino? Why wasn't he called up really under the last regime?
So there are a lot of versions of this specific tale in La Selección Mexicana, but the one that seems to be the most prevalent, the most constant, is that back in 2019, I don't know if you remember that there was a spell of games in New York City and in San Antonio. I think in San Antonio they played against Argentina, and in New
Hmm.
York City they played against the USMNT. But between the travel from New York City to San Antonio,
Hmm.
they had a couple of days in between, and allegedly, Chicharito, with the help of someone from the selection from La Federación, uh, and he invited some ladies of the night to use a light term, to party with the team. And I don't know if you remember this, but there were some pictures of Layun and I think Memo Ochoa, Chicharito, and some other players at a club in New York with said women, right?
Right.
And those things, those pictures and videos came out that they were partying and stuff. And of course, the wives of Miguel Ayun, of Memo Ochoa, and the other players that were around, starting to inquire like, what are you doing if you're supposed to be in the hotel room at a camp because you're with La Selección Mexicana? And on top of that, what are these ladies doing with y'all having fun, right? So that caused a rift between some of the couples in La Selección Mexicana, and apparently Tata Martino knew about this. He got pissed because he broke the, I guess, la
The
concentración, and he
curfew.
broke some rules and whatever. Yeah, the
Yeah.
curfew and whatnot. And then of course some of these players came together and forward and told Tata Martino like, hey man, all of this stuff is causing me problems with my wife and whatnot. Either you tell this guy to buck off, or we're not gonna play. So Tata Martino tried to talk to him apparently and ask him like, "Hey, you gotta ask for forgiveness and stuff." Apparently, he never did, and the players were like, "Well, it's either him or all of us." So Tata was like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna stick with my guys and blacklist him from from calling him up during his tenure, right?" And so, I mean, that's still like the main story that goes around with pretty much every single pundit and different news thread. But then you also have Chicharito who's saying like, I didn't do anything. It wasn't me. There were other players that were, hosting these parties. I was against them, and I pretty much was the one who blew their cover and blah blah blah. So I don't know. I really think that he was trying to party, they got caught, and he just didn't own up to his mistake. He was the one who invited the girls, and just said like, hey, these are my friends. We were having a fun time, and your husbands weren't doing anything. Don't ask, don't tell. I guess I don't know. Look, I'm not this is not this is I'm not I don't support and I don't condone adultery, but at the same time, it's like, look, I mean, you don't go asking questions of things that you don't want to get an answer on, right?
I guess so. um, so I guess moving on from the big polemica, the big controversy there.
Uh-huh.
Um, Recent weeks, I guess in the last week or two, it's been made public that Diego Cocca has reached out to the little P. What do you make of this? Is he just kind of weighing his options? We saw Mexico under Tata Martino struggle to score. We saw their number nines kind of struggle and not were not as productive as he wanted them to be. Obviously, we saw kind of the same thing here the last two matches, right? Um,
Hmm.
so is he kind of just weighing his options, trying to put pressure on Henry Martin, Bebote, Raul Jimenez, or is he really considering this as a short term maybe solution to the question of who's going to be leading Mexico forward? What do you think, man? Is there a chance we see Chicharito maybe in the April friendly against US?
I think there's a very strong chance that we will see Chicharito playing for La Selección Mexicana once again at the upcoming game against the USMNT in Arizona. Um, I think it's an no-brainer for Diego Cocca, not because Chicharito has had an outstanding performance or form in this year because he hasn't played yet, uh, but I think he also realizes that you don't have that many strikers to pick from, right? There's you don't have this long list of 15 strikers that you can pick and choose and say, you know what, I'm gonna call these ones for this game, and be be very selective on the options that you have. I think he's realizing that he's probably gonna need someone to fill that backup whenever the likes of Chucky cannot come for a specific reason, or if he's gonna have these juegos moleros that are in FIFA certified or whatever that he cannot call up or force teams to send players. He's probably just knocking the door and saying like, "Hey, man, I might need you. I don't have anything against you. Feel free to come by." And it looks like he's also not calling up those players who had a rift with Chicharito, like Hector Herrera, Andres Guardado. Those guys are out, so there isn't necessarily like an antagonist or an antagonistic force in la selección mexicana to oppose Chicharito coming back. I personally think that this is more of a I need someone with a name for this game. I need someone who's gonna be the poster boy for the game, who's gonna bring in ticket sales, who's gonna pump up the crowd because the crowd likes Chicharito. Like we can say whatever we want, we can say misa about Chicharito, but people love him. They just like him, and that's why I think it's a no-brainer for him. Is like, would you rather take Chicharito or take Edu Aguirre from Santos? What do you think is gonna make more ticket sales?
Right.
And on top of that is it's a good chance for Diego Cocca to say, "Hey, man, I opened the door for you. I gave you my hand. I give you an opportunity. This is your chance to either take it or just step aside." So I think he's killing, two birds with one stone, proving that that he's open to call big names for the sake of the business, and he's also, putting it out there to be like, "Hey, I called you up. You sucked ass. I'm not gonna call you up because I have proof that you're not ready for it."
Yeah, I gave you your chance and you didn't take it, and you
Mhm.
can't blame me.
Exactly,
um,
exactly.
so you know, you said a lot there. I think between you and I, we both think that he's not the long term solution, and he won't take the place of Martin or Bebote or even Raul Jimenez. Um, but he's probably last on the pecking order, even behind Funes Mori and everyone we mentioned before already. Um, you know, what do you think he can, if he performs,
Hmm.
can he offer the, the team a good, 1 or 2 years remaining? He's already, what is he, 33,
Dude, he's
34?
I think he's 34 if I'm not mistaken. He's 34 years old. Like here's the thing is that if we're thinking for 2026, right?
Right,
Chicharito shouldn't be an option. He shouldn't even be like considered to be part
right.
of the national team in any way because he's going to be what 38 whenever he reaches the World Cup. So I think it just doesn't make sense, right? But for the sake of the pot today, what does he bring to the table? I think he brings, experience, of course, because as you name it, he's a veteran in the team. Um, if this was Chicharito 2022 form, which he had a great form, right? He was, I think he played 31 games out of the 32 of the season. He scored 18 goals, and he started to get a lot of back-to-back games with goals. So I think at that point in time, he was a good option to call up for Qatar. I think right now he's not, but he's definitely going to bring his name to the table. He definitely will bring experience to the team. I think there's some players who like younger players who look up to him and will feel, you know, uh, that they're sharing the game or sharing some
Right,
training time with their idol. But at the end of the day, man, it's like he's a 34-year-old player. You have other 30 plus year old strikers that actually are in great form right now, that are competing to be the top scorer in ligamx, and they are actually doing something with their teams. You have Funes Muerto, you have Henry Martin, who right now are the two top scorers of ligamx with 10 and 8 respectively. um, and Henry Martin has been on fire. Like, if you're gonna call up Chicharito, he's not gonna be a starter, and I don't think
right,
he's even gonna be the second string striker, right? Because if you're calling up Henry Martin and then Funes Mori, you know who's your first striker and you know who's your second striker. He's just
right.
gonna be there for the face, for the sake of the group, I guess, like whatever they're gonna call it, right? I
Yeah,
don't know. That's my take.
for the chemistry, for the maybe morale,
Those kind
to
of
play.
those things that aren't like necessarily tangible on the game,
Right.
right?
Yeah. He'll take a pause from playing Call of Duty and go just hang out with the boys.
For real, for
Well,
real.
man,
Taking as a freaking weekend trip to Arizona. That's what it's gonna be for
yeah,
him.
from LA to wherever, Las Vegas, I think it's where the game's going to be. Or Arizona. Yeah, Arizona, you're right. Sorry. Las
Yeah.
Vegas is the summer one. Um, but yeah, I mean, will be interesting to see if he gets called up at all. And let's see what happens, man. Um, Topic two, I kind of wanted to cover with you here real quick. Anthony Hudson, Anthony Hudson, USMNT head coach. He's made a couple statements here regarding a lot of different subjects. The biggest one that kind of intrigued you and I was that he didn't commit. He didn't seem eager or competitive to want to pursue the USMNT job based on some comments he said. He's not thinking about the future with the team or long term, taking it one day at a time. He's kind of just I don't think he sees himself as, he probably knows that he won't be really the guy for the long term. Um, Speaking on personal level, like his that
Hmm.
mentality, man, like you would think like, shit, man, you've been doing well, like try to go for it. No one's gonna like, if I'm thinking of what's his name, Flo, Forlarim Balogun, is he really gonna be impressed with, oh man, I know Tonyo Hudson reached out to me and trying to convince me to come play for the US, but he's not even gonna be the coach in 6 months. Hudson should probably try to like try to get the job. I mean, what's there to lose? You got a good squad. Try to go for
Hmm.
it, man. I don't know what you think of that. I mean, but he's probably not really going to be in consideration. Do you think?
I mean, to me, this is an interesting situation, man. And this is my take on it. I totally agree with you. To me, it's like, well, what else do you have to lose right now, right? Just go for it. You have a decent track record for now. You know the players know you. You are a, the system that you use for each game. It's a system that they have been using for a while now. So, and you also know the back of the USMNT. You know how to work the front end with the players. You know how to work the back end with the recruiting. You're building relationships. You understand the USMNT. So, albeit he might not have the best track record as a coach for club or outside the USMNT. Um, but yeah, I agree with you. He should be like at least showing some grit, showing some pump that hey, I want to take the job. I think he might be using some reverse psychology, my man. He might be saying like, hey, I'm not ready for this job. I'm not the best or the most qualified for this position. I'm just taking one day at a time, and maybe just hinting at whoever comes as the next general manager for the USMNT to say like, wait a minute, we have a humble guy out here who's putting in the work, who understands what we're trying to build, who might be the safest option right now as we build up for the next 8 years. And why not, right? So I wonder if we are not giving enough credit to Tony Hudson and just thinking that he's a mastermind.
Yeah, playing the long game, playing the just playing everyone. He might be a mastermind. We saw him win 7-1. Yeah, and I
Exactly.
mean, we know he has the support of the core of the team. Pulisic has come out and said like, um, we don't need to change anything major. We don't need all these new guys coming in. We kind of have a strong core, which he's right, and we kind of have a strong kind of system how we play. So Hudson, having been the assistant coach, knows the core, knows the system's not going to change a lot. Um, and he seems like a likable guy. I mean, the team likes him. Apparently, the talks with Flo went really, really well, according to Hudson. He's optimistic that he'll choose the USA, which is not something we could have said 3 months ago. If they land this recruitment, that'd be 100 plus stars on Tony Hudson's record there. Um, so it's something that England might be dropping the ball on by making comments that we won't consider him until he plays in the EPL, and Flo is kind of saying well, the USMNT is going to have World Cup in their backyard in 4 years, so and they want
Hmm.
me, so let me go be the star over there. So if Hudson's claims of having a good conversation with Flo are to be trusted and true, I mean, hell, man, I mean, win the Nations League this summer, get Flo. I mean, he might actually get the job, and that
Dude,
reverse
yeah,
psychology. Yeah.
that will be a great start. Beginning of his career with as the USMNT coach, right? He's actually succeeding. He's getting trophies. He's bringing in talent. Uh, I just wonder if he knows something that we don't know. Like if he already knows who's going to be the next CEO of the USMNT, and if he has a hint of what kind of coaches they are interviewing, right? And maybe that's his approach to it. Like hey, Flo, we're gonna have the big European name coming in, and help us build the next 8 years of the USMNT. You should join or whatever. Um, I don't know, man. I want to give credit to Tonyo, but at the same time, it's like, dude, you're not helping yourself out here at PPG. I think we're coming around you, right? At the beginning, we said he might not be the best choice, but hey, man, he's proven to be effective.
Yeah, I mean, granted, it hasn't been the biggest teams in the world that he's played and beat, but the big tests are coming this summer, and we're
Hmm.
slowly jumping on that Tonya Hudson bandwagon. So we'll see, man. We'll be like we said, just like with Chicharito, it's going to be interesting to see how this progresses, and here at PPG, we'll be covering it all as it develops. Um, Adrian, before we take off, man, where can our listeners find us?
Man, they can always find us on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on the notifications. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts on. And lastly but not least, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Puro Pinche Gol. We post some stuff every now and then.
Yeah, definitely, listeners. If you guys want to leave a comment for us on YouTube or hit us up on Twitter or Instagram, let us know. What do you guys think of Chicharito? Should he be called again? Should he be considered as maybe a short-term solution, a band-aid for Mexico's forward striker woes? Does Tonyo Hudson, have a realistic chance of staying with the USMNT? We'd love to hear from you guys, and we'll definitely see you guys on the next one. Adrian, it's been a pleasure, brother. And see you in the next one,
As
man.
always, my friend, take it easy.
You too, man. See
Deuce.
ya.